evening and welcome to the Family Forum here on Hotline 21, Chicago Access Network Television. I'm your host, Dr. J.R.C. Tyler, and we're sitting in with our weekly co-host, the Urban Addict. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here again.
So I'm going to ask a question this evening, and if you have the answer, we want you to call in and give us the answer, but we are going to talk about some meaningful things and some resolve. We do want to hear from you. The number's on your screens, 312-738-1060. Give us a call, 312-738-1060. The African American Family Association is located at 7618 South Cottage Road in Chicago, Illinois, 60619. And so, give us a write us a letter, drop us a line, or give us a call off the air, 773-842-2873. And so there's a lot of talk about what's happening nowadays with the access to public media and the public forum, and it appears that we just had another local shooting where it was on the social media, where it took place on social media just on yesterday. And so, we want to know, if you have an opinion about the rules, regulation, or that which is happening as far as social media is concerned. Once social media receives the content of a violent act that is taking place and is presumed to be live, should there be some filters there so that those who control the social media, such as Facebook executives, not allow that to continue to be viewed? And does it promote more violence? Could we be setting a trend where individuals are now, making this something that is trending, where they're slaughtering their victims on camera? Number one, that's a question. The other one is the incident with the young man that was resisting arrest. And I've heard different views. I know that there were individuals who were protesting, even down at City Hall on Wednesday, saying that, the young man that was that was arrested by the police, and while he was on the ground, the other police came up and kicked him a couple of times. Some are saying, well, the first officer, when he was first struggling with the individual, that he really could have did what most officers do, or what many have done, and that is pull out his weapon and shot a young man, saying that he feared for his life. But he chose to continue to take a chance on apprehending him physically. Now, I think everyone will agree that the kick that came afterwards was unnecessary. But should we be looking at the way he was apprehended, and should more force be used in terms of your training and skill set before first firing your weapon? That's the question. So we want to receive some information from you tonight. We have a caller on. Caller, go ahead. Give us your name, then your comment or question, please.
Caller, go ahead, please.
Caller's on. You need to speak up a little bit. I can hear you, but
I think everyone will agree that the kick that came afterwards was unnecessary.
Caller, we hear you, but you're not audible. You're not loud enough.
Should more force be used in terms of your training and skill set?
Actually, that's not a caller. That's us. That's
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. But so I would like to say is
so hold on. Do we have a caller? All right. If we don't have a caller, okay. Whatever technical difficulties we had, we apologize for that. But do call back if you are trying to get through. Urban
okay,
Addict.
great. My thing is, I want to go to the first one first. Stereotype, no, but with filtering out crimes that are done over social media, I think that it perpetuates a stereotype. For an example, when we had the guy dressed up as Homie the Clown and was doing rapes, before long we had 10 Homie the Clowns on the north side, west side, south side, and east side. And they all was doing the same thing. I think the media kind of glorifies the wrong violence. Some violence is necessary, and other violence is not. But I think the media kind of glorifies it, and people don't understand that when something is showed, it's not to be repeated. It's to be learned from. Caller, go ahead.
I'm gonna try. My name is Joe. I'm gonna try to make my comment real quick. When we got certain types of acts of violence going on, the media have to accept some type of responsibility what's going out there. And I'll give you a prime example. We have a lot of people being radicalized on the internet in terms of terrorists, and if we don't allow like people to use the internet for child porn. And I don't understand the reason why when you got people doing certain things, and it seems like it's a real easy solution to that problem is, why don't we trace those people in terms of doing all this type of terrorist act? And if you're not using the internet, particularly in that situation, if you're not a journalist or you're not doing any type of research, you don't have no need to be going on those type of sites. And I just talking about using some common sense type stuff, because the media need to take responsibility in certain types of situations. Like that, I'm glad they had that one situation where over in France where this terrorist was torturing this family, and I do believe they cut the feet off. People don't need to be using the media as a mean to accomplish their goals. That's all I really want to say.
Thank you so much for that call. Do you have a comment on the second discussion, second point of discussion? Okay, Joe's point.
Yeah, apparently we must have lost the caller, but well, first thing I want to say is that yeah, you're right. Maybe the media do need to take some responsibility in another aspect, but then we go against like what the foundation of America was built on, and that's the Constitution. One thing we can't take away is freedom of speech. We can't take away freedom of press. So when you go into journalism and things of that nature, and you try to penalize somebody for showing something that actually how they make their money or how they show what's actually going on in the world, then you go along with the Constitution and you start tapping into what has been laid in by the forefathers of America and the foundation of what's to be left alone when you're trying to do something. Because if we go in and say that we can penalize them for freedom of press, then everything goes down from there.
Well, actually, that argument is already too late. I mean, you know, if we were going to argue on the Constitution, your points are well taken. Right. Very, very well taken in terms of that. But as it relates to censorship, the idea of discretion is important, and censorship should be considered if you're looking at exercising an act for the good of all. So should a few people, for an example, the freedom of speech is, as you stated, protected somewhat by the Constitution. However, it is unlawful and punishable as a crime to yell fire in a crowded theater. That's against the law. So you can still have the freedom of speech, but for the good of a larger community or larger society, some discretionary laws may be acceptable. So we do have a call. Caller, welcome to the Family Forum.
I just want to make this quick comment. Just like when they had reporters over in Afghanistan reporting what's going on over there, but they cannot report troop movements. And because if they report troop movements, guess what? People's lives are at stake. I'm just talking about using some common sense type things. I'm not talking about infringing on the rights of the media to report certain things, whatever. But there is one basic principle: your rights end where the other person's begin.
Joe,
can they coexist, Joe?
Say again.
Can they coexist? Does my right have to end where another's begin, or does yours have to end where mine begin?
How are we going to have, like that example I gave you, okay? How the heck we going to fight a war or a battle if certain information is going to our enemies, where our troops are being, where our troop movement's at? That doesn't make any common sense.
So you got a larger
discussion. I'm just talking about some common sense type thinking. That's
Yeah,
common
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Right.
You
This-
take
this-
it to a
If
larger
your
degree.
son, we got women going into that member of the armed forces. Your son, your daughter, will you want the enemy to know where they're at?
Now, I understand where you coming from, Joe, but each one of us, you as the caller, him as the host, and me as the host, we all share somewhat different views and when we talking about what the camera should show. Me personally, I don't think anything should be bleeped out. I don't think anything should be edited. I think for what happens, if they're gonna show it, I think it should be showed. But I'm saying that when you speak on common sense, we talking about the individual, not the media. We talking about the individual on how they retain information, how they reciprocate it, put it back out, or whatever. Some people take it and copy it. Other people dismiss it. I'm just saying that if we start editing media, it's bad enough we don't get the whole truth as it is. So now we're saying we gonna get whatever's left over. Like at the end of dinner, you know what I'm saying? The dog get whatever's left over. So
So this is what makes our show very unique. That and is because we don't come on as clones to support each other's statement, as has already been stated. We may share different opinions. So Joe, you still there? Okay, so Joe, I was going to give you allow you an opportunity to respond to the Urban Addict, but so I differ greatly. I don't think we should have raw. I mean, you don't have raw exposure in your home. You don't expose your children to everything that's happening around them, and even there are certain things that you would not expose to the females in your family, just as there are certain things that the females in your family should not expose to the men, and inappropriately. So therefore, everything that's happening in the world around us in the larger picture should not have that. We should not take that. We should take that same caution in that area too. Why? Why don't you do that in your home? Why don't you expose everything? Because you are protecting them, and you're using discretion as to what they should be exposed to and when they should be exposed to it. And so, since we do not control what our children may see or may not see in the larger public spectrum, I do feel that there should be filters, and I think that not only should there be filters, we talk too much about our vulnerabilities. For an example, when we started this show, our landmark was the year that Timothy McVeigh bombed the federal building in Oklahoma. And what makes that significant is that when Timothy McVeigh bombed it, that bomb was set off on the ground floor, and the media stated at that time, wow, this would have really been a tragedy because of the way the structure is built, the way the building is. You would think that it would bring it down from the floor, but it would have really been a tragedy if the bomb were placed at higher levels. A few years later, what do we have? We have a floating bomb in the air that comes right in at mid-level or at the vulnerability point that the media had pointed out years earlier that would cause the type of catastrophe that we didn't want to have. So I think America. So when it comes to the freedom of speech, and even right now, caller, we know you're there. We're going to get you in. Even right now, the FBI is saying, well, our enemy and the challenges that we face. We're just overwhelmed. We just really cannot really speak to it. So what does that do, to the weak-minded individual or the individual that have a distorted view of America, or that have a view of America that they feel is oppressive and suppressive and see them as the ultimate enemy? Well, that will encourage them. It will say, hey, well, look, they've already admitted that our tactics, our approach is working, whether we are rogue killers or whether we are organized efforts. The results will be the same because our adversary have told us that they are losing. Caller, welcome to the Family Forum. Give us your name, comment, or question, please.
Joe again. I just want to pose this one. You talking about not cutting anything out, not editing anything like at all. Okay, I just going to flip the script a little bit. What happened pretty soon? Every Chicago cop going to have those cameras on them. Now, are you going to be crazy about when the police come in your home with those cameras and you just got to say you don't want nothing cut out or anything like that? You know, they'll be coming in your house, your privacy and all that. And once again, we need to be talking about policies and procedures to deal with those sort of things. I'm just talking about common sense type of stuff.
So that was our question.
That's actually good what you're saying about policy and everything. But let me just address one thing. We talking about two different things in the aspect, like Dr. Tyler was just saying. He was talking about footage, but he said the lady said something, so we switched over to freedom of speech. So now we're not talking about just showing the footage. Had they just shown the footage of what was being, what has taken place at a bombing, that would have been a different thing, uncut footage. But instead, they gave input. The input is what did damage in that circumstances. So now we switch back to you. You saying that the cameras, if they come into my house with the cameras, no, I don't want that show, but I want uncut video, uncut footage. So let's talk about policy and procedures.
That's the reason why
Joe, here's the policy.
Freedom of Information Act.
Joe, here's the policy and the procedure.
Joe, we didn't hear you. Once he gets through, I want you to repeat that so you can be heard.
Here's the policy and the procedure. Them cameras supposed to be turned on in the act of a crime or an act of like a pullover or something. But somebody's walking in somebody's house or something like that. That's against the procedures. See, if we gonna talk about like things of that nature, we can't straddle the fence, Joe. We got to talk about what's allowed already and what's not allowed. Then we can address that issue. Go ahead, Joe.
First of all, we had 9 people that sat on the Supreme Court in terms of what could be recorded. Now, out there in the public, guess what? At one time, if you recorded the police at all, that was a felony.
Yes, it was.
And it had changed a lot. And still, we got police officers right now, and plus with their union, they don't think it's fair to record anything at all. I said, thank God for those 9 people that sat there on the Supreme Court, said, out there in the public, you can't be recorded.
Right.
And we still have a problem a lot of times in terms of FOIA. Like you talking about uncut, whatever, and like they reported they got the copy of that, I can't think of that person that was shot 16 times. The reason why he was able to get that, we got certain laws on the books, and we got to make sure they still enforce. That person had to make a FOIA request. And now in every state, it may be a little bit individual, how that law is applied. Guess what? We got to push and make sure certain things when it comes to that Freedom of Information Act, so we be able to get that information, be able to get that. You talking about those tapes and things.
Yeah, I think, what Joe just said when he said FOIA, for everybody that's not familiar with FOIA, it is the Freedom of the Information Act. So, and that's where you petition to get information, public information.
Information that's available in the public domain.
Exactly.
But and to the point that you followed up when you was giving when you were recapping our discourse, the statement that you made was when they had the footage, that may have been okay because there was no sound to it. It was a visual of what had taken place.
And that's what I was addressing to Joe.
Right. That's what you was addressing to Joe. But the part that interested me as well was when you said, but then the lady spoke, and you said, and that's when the damage was done. That's when the challenges started, which is the point that I'm making. Even with the FOIA, even with the freedom of information, and even with the freedom of speech, there must be some, but more so with the freedom of speech, there still must be some filters. We must use discretion in our exercising of any law, because as we stated, and I don't want the example to be taken lightly because it's profound. The fact is, we want to have the freedom of speech in every arena, in every forum. Even recently when Donald Trump wanted to have his rally at the UIC, not far from here, there were individuals who wanted to exercise their freedom of speech by saying we don't want Donald Trump here. But the media tended to say, well, some media, depending on which spin doctor you listen to, were saying, well, these people have come, they want to hear Trump, so it's wrong for those individuals to say, well, you have the right to protest. And so I think that we do, as the Urban Addict stated, we have to look at where we're talking about straddling this fence, because on the one hand, my right should not end where yours begin. But some point there should be some discretion used, and we have to look at, you know, how we address certain things. We've gotten away from the initial conversation that we were having, but I do want you to, I do want to put it back out there, and that is, should there be laws, and if so, where should these laws be? Then I have not heard the discussion either on the subject of whether or not the procedure that the officer used to apprehend, or to, I should say, arrest the individual the other day, who eventually was let go and then rearrested, for your information.
Well,
So was it a noble attempt, or, you know,
Definitely.
are we missing the fact that he didn't pull his gun and kill the young man?
Definitely not. Let's call a spade. What it is, what it is. The man was down, face down, and one man kneeing his back while he cuffing him up. Anything after that is beyond the call of duty. You know, this just was an act of rogue violence, a rogue cop being disrespectful and thinking that, you know, his shield, his badge, and
Wait a minute,
Chicago's
which
blue.
police? I mean, let's be
No, I'm
clear.
talking about the officer that kicked him.
No, I'm talking about the officer that eventually made the arrest by putting the handcuffs on him, because when he was resisting arrest, many young men have been shot for quote unquote resisting arrest and reaching for the officer's gun. Have
Right.
been the statement that was made. And if you look at the video when he was trying to subdue the subject and put him under control, the individual was tussling. He was, it appears, reaching around, that could have been perceived as reaching for the officer's gun. So you know.
But this is where the training come in.
So
This
the
is where
question is, do we ever? So we always challenge individuals when they don't do what they should do. So in this instance, it appeared to many that the individual exercised his training. He did not go overboard by reaching for his gun and take the young man's life.
But let's not
And have we missed that? Is that the question?
No, I'm saying we trying to overshadow.
But
we
have
trying to
we missed that?
overshadow
But-
a rogue cop though.
No. We always talk about the road cop. I don't. So
No,
we
let's-
haven't missed that.
let's
He's
just
in the
say, okay,
media.
we
He's in the
appreciate-
media.
we appreciate the guy.
We had city uprising. City hall marches. For the past couple of days on mainstream media,
Right.
we have talked about the quote unquote road cop, but we have not talked about the one who exercised, or who apparently to some exercised his duty responsibly. And I think that for those that serve and protect, having the idea in terms of overshadowing, I think that's the part that gets overshadowed when we do have.
So you saying a good deed is overlooked?
Yeah. What I'm saying is, I think that we do a disservice to ourselves when we become when we ignore the balance. I mean, when we talk about straddling the offense, either we're talking about justice and being fair, or we're talking about.
I just think if it's justice, we don't need to address justice. If justice is being taken care of, we need to address the wrongdoing so that we can stay in the lane of justice.
No, I think we need to address the justice so that we can let those who don't know what justice is know what it looks like.
Now, but
and
believe
so there are many people that have viewed that have the mindset that the urban addict have now, and it's great because that's his perspective, and that mindset is this was just a road cop. So at some point, even a puppy at home wants to be patted on the head sometimes. And so, I think if you just came in and remember the time that the puppy wet the rug and you steady slapping him upside the head every time you see him, then you missed a point. You don't. So we should also give honor where honor is due, if it's due. And that was the question. What's your opinion about the individual and how he how he actually made the arrest? We've got a few
I would like to say
Okay.
good job to the cop that did his job correctly, and to that road cop, take your badge off, see you in the street. To keep it real with you though, black people, we are a power to be reckoned with. We are here by design, and as I said before, we can change the blueprint. I'm the Urban Addict, and this is Dr. Tyler.
And we're so glad that you have tuned in to the Family Forum. Once again, tune in every week. As we've said, the unique thing about the show is that we're here to discuss perspective. Ultimately, our goal is to try to get somewhere for a resolve, but sometimes healthy a conversation is also enticing as well. As we always say, as you get the information, go out, do something with it. Good night.
Peace.